Hello everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom alaikum.
Ya, nama saya Oliver. Saya sangat senang dari sini bertemu dengan teman-teman semua. Terima kasih.
Thank you. And do I know you? Okay, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you guys have a pleasant morning. My name is Arun. I come here since I have interest in living an activated life. Yay!
Awesome.
My life is
Really
better
good.
after attending this seminar.
Awesome.
Yay!
Awesome.
Have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Next. Okay. Vivi, my neighbor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vivi, Louisa neighbor. I'm happy to join in this small center for the first time.
Wow.
So I'm welcome. And then, yes, please.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Good morning. My name is Ronald. I'm friends of Vivi and Lisa.
And you too, yeah.
I'm very happy to attend this seminar.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to know and to meet all of you.
Okay.
Huh?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And the lady over there is Putri. And the other lady is Catherine.
Namaku Catherine.
Alright. And the little lady over there is Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Okay. All right, the technical team, are we ready for the introduction of Small Center? Oh, by the way, my name is Luisa. I'm also part of the Small Center. Okay, for those of you who just heard about Small Center, this is our profile. Maybe you can just play it, Kak. All right, Smiles. Okay. Smile Center is actually a holistic wellness organization. We have counseling program. It's free. Depression recovery program, mental health educations. We talk at corporate events and also schools, universities, and organizations. And we also have stop addiction program and also health expo. And the last program that we have, it's just opened recently, a wellness program. So we have, can we see, can you please show the wellness flyer? Yes. So we just opened a wellness center. It's a holistic wellness center where we can learn about discovering ourselves, about mental health, and then how to enhance your life. It's actually a stayover program. We have 2 locations. The first one is in Manado, and we also have the one in Gunung Sindur. Gunung Sindur. So if you want to know more about that, so the program is up to you. You can stay for 1 day, for a week, for a month, 3 months. We are going to make a tailor-made program for you. for your stay at the Smile Center Wellness Center. Okay. Is it our name now? Smile Center Wellness Center. All right. It's kind of weird. Okay. So, yeah, that's about Smile Center. Maybe we can talk about our service later on after the program. All right. Okay. So the Smile Center is a holistic health center, but as you may all know that our approach is spiritual approach. We have a spiritual approach. So for that, we are going to start our program now with a prayer. We can pray in our own beliefs. I will lead from here. Okay, let us pray. Thank you, God, for today. Thank you for all your blessings. Thank you for all your protection. We are going to listen to a seminar about living an activated life. We know this will be coming from you, and we know you want us to live our activated life. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker, Samson Thomas. He is currently affiliated with a social organization called Yayasan Aktivasi Cipta Tujuan. It gives him access to speak at corporate events, university and high school campuses, and various other organizations. So when he is not brainstorming new and innovative ways to share inspirational content on stage, online, or one-on-one sessions, he enjoys spending time with his wife, Geska, and their son, Asher Riley, the two people that make he does worth living. So please welcome Samson Thomas.
So, when I want you to change the slide, I'll point at you. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the Smile Center team for allowing me to be a part of this. I didn't know that this is your first offline since the pandemic.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure on me because, I've always loved the idea of what you guys do. As some of you might know, I work together with Pastor Tendai, and he always shared this vision and this idea to connect with the community. And I think it's fantastic and very inspiring. So I want to say that I recognize what you're doing, and I pray that the Lord blesses you. When Louisa asked me to speak, immediately the theme that I came up with, and I delayed giving it to you for a month, was living an activated life. Why this matters to me is connected to the story I want to start my presentation with. I've been married for 7 years, and in the 7 years, there are two events that have shaped and changed my family. Anna, I see you, man. I see you in the corner. 4 or 5 years, right? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Two events have shaped my life in the past 7 years. In 2018, I remember it was 2 years into my marriage, my wife and I decided that we wanted to have a child. I wanted a girl, she wanted a boy. And I remember we decided we wanted to fast every Monday until the Lord blessed us with a son or a girl. I see you too. And Monday we fast. On Wednesday, she wakes me up at 5 in the morning. I'm pregnant. So I didn't have to fast anymore. She got pregnant. 6 months into the pregnancy, we go to see her doctor, who's been monitoring our son. We know he's a boy at the time. And he noticed that there was an obstruction under his left kidney. So any doctors or nurses in that, what do you call that? The urethra that connects the kidney to the bladder? there's an obstruction. So he has a blockage, and after a while, we noticed that the left kidney is getting bigger than the right one. So immediately the doctor said, when your son is born, you're going to have to make the difficult decision to have an operation. And so when he was born, it was a good birth. 6 months in, we took him to Singapore. We had the procedure done at NUH. Until this day, every 6 months, we have to go back to check that the blockage is not affecting him because his left kidney is still big. That's event number 1. For the rest of his life, we have to live with the fear that one day he might lose his left kidney. 2019, we start getting rumors about the pandemic, and by the time 2020 started, things were becoming uncertain, and by the time we got to April, we were on lockdown. A lot of my work put me in front of audiences, in front of people. When the pandemic started, we all moved to Zoom, right? I imagine we all got zoomed out at some point, right? Every day, Zoom. And so one session, I'm speaking to a group of people, and I can see on the screen, and I notice I have a white patch on my lip. So I thought I cut myself while shaving. Needless to say, 6 months later, I noticed that I wasn't born like this. And for you guys, I'm sure you're wondering what's going on with the pastor. Is he Michael Jackson? What's going on, right? I speak to a doctor in Singapore, and because at the time we couldn't travel, and she said to me, you have vitiligo. 0.1 to 1% of people on earth develop the autoimmune condition called vitiligo. And for some reason, the Lord had seen that I be one of them. My body is 30 to 40% like this now. So my son has a kidney issue. I developed vitiligo. We are on lockdown. Can you imagine the mental torture of that experience where you are so self-conscious about what you look like because you talk to people for a living? So the first thing I said to my wife was, I'm done. I no longer speak to people. I'll figure something else out. I'll work online. I have a friend from the UK. He is half Jamaican, half Indonesian. That's a very interesting mix, by the way. And he is married to a Filipino who lives in South Africa. That is the United Nations right there. So him and I were friends in the Philippines. We lived together for 8 months. And he asked me to do a program for he is a chaplain in a university. He asked me to do a program for the young people. I said, dude, I'm not doing that anymore. And then he said something to me that it still gets to me to this day. By the way, this is the first time I've ever spoken about my condition outside of my family. He said to me, you do understand that the things we go through become the message we can share with other people. I said, thank you for that. I was being sarcastic, of course. But I appreciated what it meant, that even though I don't look like I used to before, I still can share my story with other people. And so that's why I know today I'm Sam. I've lost the title. I'm just Sam now. Because I love this. This is what I love to be a part of. So when I say living an activated life, I could have said how to live an abundant life. I could have said how to live a prosperous life. But those are words we hear every single day. But activated means something else. It means in spite of what's going on, how can you still show up for the people around you? The bio that I gave you, Louisa, that last part is it's not something that speakers say to make themselves seem like family. You can go to the next one. I mean it when I say my son and my wife are my focus because she never signed up for this. One of the reasons I was able to manage my emotional state is because my wife hasn't stopped looking at me the same way she did the day we got married. This doesn't affect her. In fact, she jokes about it and says, now you're lighter than me. Don't like that joke at all. But I get what she's trying to do. So it helps that she's accepted me. My son doesn't even notice this. He doesn't say anything, and he's 4 years old. It's other people I meet, I constantly have to keep explaining to them what's happening. In fact, if you don't, I'm from Africa, by the way. And if you've met African people, we are darker than most people. And so my friend said to me, are you trying to be lighter now? Like, why? I love being black, but this is my story now. This is me now, okay? So When you think about living an activated life, I've shared my story. What is yours? What is the thing that is going on in your life right now that makes you not want to get out of bed, or it makes you live a very monotonous life? Same job, same place, same friends, same restaurant, same menu, everything is routine every single day. If there's anything that the pandemic taught us, is that if you don't learn to change or pivot, you will not survive on this side of the pandemic. Anel, I found myself using ChatGPT to write a sermon the other day. That's where we are now, all right? We are having to adjust the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves. So for a long time, by the way, this is a program that I teach. I've used it in Manado, 2019. I used it in Malaysia, same year, but I was talking to students. What I want to do today is adjust it for an audience that is obviously different. I noticed that obviously all of us are from different backgrounds. You shared that you work for the American Embassy. We've got teachers in the building. We've got parents. We've got people who are in the corporate world. Everybody's living a different life. How can you talk about an activated life to people who come from different experiences? This is my attempt at doing that. Let's go. What I want to share with you, first of all, is what we have in common. This is the world that you and I live with every single day. These are the decisions we are confronted with on a daily basis. Number one, education. When you're younger as a kid, schools are chosen for you. You don't get the choice of where you want to study. But as you get older, you can negotiate with your parents. So you have to decide, where do I want to study? What do I want to study? And that decision changes with time. The other thing that you must deal with is the career path. I've met doctors who are now selling mining equipment. I've met people who are in marketing who are now doing a psychology degree. We live in a generation where you are not doing one thing. You can be a teacher, but you're doing online marketing. You got a YouTube channel. We live at a time when your parent asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Is a very complicated question, right? So that's it. We have to deal with career. What else do we need to deal with? We have to deal with relationships. From the day you are born, you are surrounded by people. Until you die, people will be standing at the graveyard. So we constantly have to deal with people. And with phones, we are crowded even all the way to falling asleep at night. We are surrounded by people. So we must deal with relationships. Finances. This is the one thing, again, that social media, the pandemic has shown us that schools never quite prepared people to deal with financial issues. We have adjusted the way we think about banking, the way we think about saving. There was a time when you had a job, you stayed there for 25 years because you knew there was a retirement waiting for you. But now it's like, what is retirement? You just stop working one job, you pick up another, right? Money. And then finally, this is the one that, especially in Indonesia, we all have some type of a spiritual experience that we live by. There's something we believe that motivates us to be who we are and influences the decisions that we make. Now, here's the problem. This is fine. This is where we live. But in dealing with those 5 things, there could be more. It's up to you. Here's what we must deal with as well. Let me stand over here so you can see. There's what I came up with. I call it the 3 views of life that all of us must deal with. The first one, I call it the ideal. Let's go. The second one, I call it reality. And then the third one, I call it expectation. Let me talk about the first one, first of all. When it comes to your career, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to money, education, and spirituality, we all have what we call ideals, right? Ladies, you understand what I'm talking about? If you are single and you're thinking about who to marry, you had a standard of the man that you wanted to marry. Everybody has an idea about where their career should go. If I'm in this company for 3 years, I want to be promoted. After 5 years, I'll move to another one, get 30% pay rise. We all have an ideal. Religion, relationships, everybody has an ideal. Let's go, highlight that one. But the problem is, the ideal is always confronted by reality. The reality is, nobody's perfect. The reality is, you'll never get paid what you think you're worth. The reality is, people don't love you as much as you think. Not everybody's going to like you. The reality is, life is unfair. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. That's just the world we live in. I'm always, I'm very interested in history and politics. When it comes to Indonesian politics, my wife always updates me with what's going on. And there's a lot of cases that you guys are paying attention to, whether it be the tax kid or it be the police. I'm so interested in that. And when I hear that billions of rupiah are found in someone's home, and I'm thinking there's people on the street pushing carts trying to make a living, but somebody's got billions in their basement. This is reality. But here's the thing I know about being an African and about being Asian, is that we live in a world of expectations. When it comes to your career, your parents expect you to pick the highest level of qualification ever. If you're the firstborn in the family, you are expected to take care of everybody. You are expected to marry within your race, your culture. You are expected to marry somebody with a master's degree. You are expected to have at least 2 kids. One of them has to be a boy, right? We live in a world of expectation. And guys, this is the world in which we are expected to live an activated life. You wake up in the morning, you're supposed to be happy with it. If you're stuck in traffic, at Machet with the motorcycles, just smile, right? Smile center, everything should be great. You get to the office, you get along with your workmates, even if they don't pay you enough, you should be okay with that. This is the world that we live in. How do we change that? How do we adjust our mindset? Let me be clear. What I'm about to share with you, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want to affect how you think about your life and how you can proceed. Because after discovering my son's condition, after going through, and by the way, this is incurable. It will continue until it stops. I could be like this all over, maybe it stops right now. I can't be outside in the sun. I was telling Louisa, I can't take my son to the park anymore. That's just where we are now. But how do you manage that? 10 years ago, I watched a TED Talk where Simon Sinek was sharing what he called the golden circle. In fact, I've read this book. If you can get a hold of this book, it's really great, right? It's not just, it's for, the way he wrote it, it's for anybody trying to find meaning in the context of the life they're living, okay? It's called Start With Why. In fact, he has another one called Find Your Why. Simon Sinek he is an optimist. He is very popular when it comes to major organizations like Apple, like Samsung, a lot of European organizations. They invite him to speak at events. You will notice when you read the book, he doesn't talk about God at all, but there's a lot of value system in what he shares. So one of the things he spoke about, if you can see this it's called the golden circle. He was trying to explain why Apple at the time was doing better than other companies in the world. Why Apple was ahead of its time. If you ask somebody, what do you do? Now, when you ask somebody, what do you do? What's the first thing they'll tell you? What will they tell you? What do you do? If I say to you, what do you do? See, we go straight to our work. Because when it comes to what we do every day, we identify with our profession. So he was explaining that if you go to a company and ask them, what do you do? They'll tell you about their product. They'll tell you about how it works. But if any of you are Apple users here, you will notice that Apple doesn't sell products, it sells a lifestyle. They tell you why you should own an iPhone, not what it does. But Oppo, VAS, and all these other brands, they want you to buy the phone because of what it can do. But Apple today is different. That's a whole different story. I think it's fading. So he always says, if you are a company, an individual with a career, a family person, always start with why you do it. Because why you do it is what carries you forward. So 10 years ago, I met up with this golden circle. And so during the pandemic, I'm trying to reevaluate my life. What comes next? What do I do in this stage of my life? And by the way, I just turned 40 when I discovered this condition. What a way to live the next half of your life, right? But I thank God because a lot of amazing things have happened. I've adjusted this to something else. Let's go. To me, if you ask me, what is living an activated life? Living an activated life is discovering your why, is determining your what, is designing the how, and then delivering to others. I'll explain each one. This is what living an activated life means to me in short. But let's elaborate more on what that means. Let's go. I want to share with you what I call the activated life formula. It's very simple. It's just a bunch of words with an interesting formula. And I like the idea of who because the who in this case is you. Activated living begins with you. Not your spouse, not your kids, not your employees, not your employer. It begins with you. Imagine what they say about being in an aeroplane. Whenever there's turbulence or something's wrong with the plane, what do they usually say, Louisa? What do they say to you when the mask comes down? Do you put the mask on your kids?
Save yourself first.
You put the mask on yourself first, then your kids. Because if you are disoriented, you can't help anybody else. So I want to say to you right now, you need to practice what I call temporary selfishness. If your life is upside down, you cannot show up for your kids. You cannot show up for your family because you're unhappy, it passes on. It shows. I remember one day my son, he was about 2.5 years old. We had a play area in the lounge and I was sitting on the sofa looking outside because we couldn't go out, right? And he came to me at the age of 2.5 and he said, "Daddy, what's wrong?" In my mind, I'm thinking, how does a 2.5-year-old know that something's wrong with his father? Immediately, my wife said, Jessica said to me, "You gotta start smiling more around him because it's not just about you, it's about him also." And so, smile center, I started smiling more around my son. Let me share the formula with you in the time that I have. So this is what it looks like. It's 4 rings and everything begins with why. But here's the problem with this idea. Everybody talks about find your purpose, find your purpose. I'm sure you've heard people say that, right? Everyone on YouTube, on social media, every time you're scrolling, find your purpose. What does that mean? What does it mean to find your purpose? Is it leave your job and try to be an astronaut? Is being a mother not enough? Is that not purpose? People struggle with that. We are such in a consumer age where if you don't have a YouTube channel or an Instagram channel with 500,000 followers, you're not living your purpose. My idea is totally different. So you discover your why, but the way you do it is not by going to a fortune teller. It's not by asking other people. There's a simple process, and I'm going to show you. Let's go. Why? I call it potential. What? No, I'm sorry, I call it purpose. What? I call it your potential. We'll talk about what that means. Let's go to the next ring. The how. What do you spend your day doing? What is it that occupies your time? Because everybody wants to find their purpose, but most people are always doom scrolling. Isn't it interesting that there was a time when you went online, when you tried to read a page, it was a PDF, that was it. Web 1 was just 1 page. But Web 2 social media, you can keep going and going and going. And a lot of people, that's how they spend their time at work, in front of their kids. 3 months ago, we were in Singapore to get my son checked up again. While we were in the waiting room waiting for the professor, a young surgical student came, a little Indian girl. She came and she asked us to do a survey. And in the survey, she wanted us to talk about how we raise our son. And the survey was based on how much screen time kids spend. And the moment she said that, we looked at each other like, uh-oh. But the hospital paid us $46 to do the survey. So we did it. And the first question was, how much time does your child spend on the screen? I'm not going to tell you what the answer was. But the finding of the survey was that most parents are not raising their kids, the internet is. That was the basic conclusion, right? Productivity. And then finally, how to deliver to others. Now, when it comes to finding your purpose, it can be anything. But for most people, I spoke to a friend in Malaysia on Tuesday, and he said, last week Tuesday, and he said to me, when it comes to purpose, it's not about what, it's about who. It's about what group of people do you want to be there for. And one of the things I discovered, Anel, during the pandemic was, during the pandemic, I counseled more couples than I ever did in the 7 years being in this country. I spoke to more young people during the pandemic than any other time. Because guess what? The world doesn't revolve around you. You're not the only one with problems. And so the moment you show up for other people, you start to figure out, how can I do that? What is it that I can do to make a difference? That's how you discover what your why is. Let's expand it a little bit more. Let's start with why. I want to read a statement to you. But do you guys know who this is? Find it online. His name is Jim Quick. He wrote a book called Limitless. His ability to, if he came in the room and you all said your names, he would say your names back in order. He's memorized thousands of numbers in order, even though they're random. But he had an accident at the age of 8. A kid threw something in the classroom and he got hurt on his mind. So he became dyslexic. So he had to teach himself how to learn. And so one of the things he says in his book, he's worked with a lot of politicians. He's worked with a lot of movie actors. He's a big superhero fan. So every time Marvel is doing a movie, he works with the actors in remembering their lines. Because you know these superhero movies, they say a lot of scientific things. So sometimes it's not easy to recall them. So he teaches them how to remember stuff. Anyway, this is what he said, because his problem became his purpose. He says, our life consists of the central motivating aims of your life. In other words, the reasons you get up in the morning. Is it your kids? Is it your job? Is it your family? Does everybody depend on you? Is it the community? Are you in politics? Are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? Are you representing people in need? What is it that wakes you up in the morning? Purpose can guide life decisions, influence behavior, shape goals, offer a sense of direction, and create meaning. This is probably the most non-spiritual, non-religious definition of purpose I agree with. It checks all the boxes when it comes to what is purpose. Let's go. Let's talk about what? What is potential? Somebody said the one place where there's the most amount of potential is in the graveyard. In the graveyard, there are people who could have been the greatest doctor. There are people who could have been a president. There are people who could have been the most amazing teacher or most amazing mother. But they never got to do it because they were so focused on the things that were not working out in life rather than how they can show up for other people. Think about it. Whenever you think about your problems, what is it that makes you sad? Why do our problems make us sad? Number one, because we think we are the most unlucky person in the world. We think that this is happening to us and nobody else. Number two, we think that there's no solution to the problem. We think that, okay, this is my life now, this is who I'm defined as, and nothing else. But number three, we judge ourselves as if we deserve what is happening to us. And so we get stuck in that. Most marriages don't struggle because of infidelity. They struggle because somebody gave up. Somebody decided that I'm going to quit and not show up anymore. No purpose. Listen to this statement. I got this from my wife because she's in consulting. She also had to pivot. She was in the pharmaceutical industry, but now she works with her sister in consulting. They help businesses and individuals with developing programs to improve their work structure. So I asked her a question. How does somebody figure out that their job is what they want to do for the rest of their life? She shared this idea because it comes from a psychological assessment, and the idea is this. Healthy self-esteem requires high level of self-acceptance and high level of self-improvement. I want to be careful with this because we are living at a time where people misunderstand what self-acceptance means. For a lot of people, self-acceptance means whatever flaws or problems or bad habits I have, that's who I am. I should be okay with that. That's why, if you've noticed, parents, your kids are not as shy as we were when we were younger. The things they post online are the things we thought about at that age. But now they post whatever they're doing. They're not shy about, because they say it's self-acceptance. But self-acceptance without self-improvement doesn't mean anything. So during the pandemic, I'm not a technological person. All I know is how to put on the computer. I had to learn how to use Zoom. It took me about a month to know how to put my PowerPoint on Zoom. Now I'm using ChatGPT. Currently, I'm learning how to do programming now. How crazy is that? Programming. Because if you're not improving, you are going to be left behind. There's a lot of jobs we're doing now, and I'm sorry to say, those jobs are not going to be necessary in the future. Machines are going to be doing them. Are you ready for that? Are you adjusting to that? Are you prepared to understand that sometimes when you call a helpline, you're not talking to a person anymore. You're talking to a machine. Self-improvement is necessary. It's necessary in marriage. It's necessary in parenting. A lot of parents during the pandemic had a problem because there's no period of time where school was missed like during the pandemic. A lot of parents realized they were not parents, they were providers. Because now your kid was at home 24/7. And so they realized, I haven't been parenting, I've just been paying bills. Driver, maid, school, teachers, that was it. But the pandemic, it was them and the child. They've had to self-improve. Some parents thought that the children were crazy, and so they were doing a psychological assessment online, only to realize they needed the psychologist, not the child. Right? Self-improvement. Let's go. T. Harvey Eker. This book is called The Millionaire Next Door. But the irony of the book is you'll think he's talking about money, but really he's talking about you and your relationship to money. And so this is what he says. Get into the corridor. You never know which door will open for you. 20 years ago, people could work the same job for 15, 25 years. But today, people are lasting at most 5 years before they move to another one. Okay? Because there was a time when a company was loyal to you as an employer. Not anymore. It's about them. So people are always constantly thinking about their career choices. And so the statement is very correct. Rather than waiting for opportunities to come to you, put yourself out there. Right now, let me ask a question. By show of hands, who has a YouTube channel? A YouTube channel. Okay, that's one. Who's got a TikTok account? That's one. Instagram account? Hands down. How many are using YouTube, TikTok, Instagram to promote their career, their business, or their entrepreneurship? I was sure you're going to raise your hand. The moment you said you had a YouTube channel, I knew that. If you don't have a YouTube channel today, you need to have it. You need to have it. We live at a time where you got to put yourself out there, and I do not like social media at all. Every time my family tags me, I'm very uncomfortable with that. But I understand the need for showing up because you never know what door will open while you do that. Okay, but you don't have to be on social media. It's safe outside. Productivity. How do you spend your day? You know, I've watched a lot of productivity videos on YouTube, and I always thought it was rubbish. But during the pandemic, I realized something that if your life is not organized, you will see the years passing, and you'll wonder, what did I do with my time? Okay? So if you have a purpose, how are you spending your time right now? For the past 2 months, I've been reading one book a week on different topics. One book a week. I've never did that before. I'd spend maybe about 3 weeks to a month on one book. But now I'm forcing myself to read one book a week, and it's amazing. Okay, it's amazing. All right, let's go. Tim Keller says, work, and I love these definitions because they make you see it differently. All right? Work is rearranging the raw material of God's creation in such a way that it helps the world in general and people in particular thrive and flourish. But let's be honest, 99% of people don't see their job this way. For a lot of people, work is just a paycheck. And I get it. You got to pay bills. We live in a two-income home society these days. Everybody's got to work. You know, in counseling before, about 10, 15 years ago, you'd ask the couple, so is one of you going to work and the other stay at home? And by the other, we always meant the wife, right? 15 years ago, most women would say, I'll stay at home. But today, the answer is different. Everybody's going to work now because inflation and the demands and everything costs money. We even have to pay money for water. My family thought it was crazy that I have to order water every day because we don't do bottled water back home. I think we should because it's unhealthy. But everything costs money. But if you can change the way you see your job, somebody said, you don't have to love what you do. You just have to love the results. Okay? Not all of us can do the job we love. Sometimes you got to take what's in front of you. You got to take what's available. And then out of that, do what you can until you do what you want, they say, right? So if your job can be seen as this view that God created these things, they're available to me, now I can use them to do a whole lot more. Maybe you'll enjoy the work that you do. Let's go. Others. I think for a lot of people, this is where we live mostly. We live by other people's expectations. From the day you were born, expectations are placed on you. A lot of young people today struggle with listening to their parents. I dealt with a family, a young Chinese family, where only son reached the age of 19. Both his mom and dad are in the medical field. They're not doctors, but they're in some genetics type thing, company in Indonesia. They expected their son to do medicine. He never said anything. He wanted to do IT, but they wanted him to do medicine, to be a doctor. He went to the UK for 1 semester. He failed. He went to the US. He failed. He came back here. They put him in one of the best medical schools in Indonesia, and he failed. So when he spoke to me, he said, I don't know how to tell them that this is not what I want to do. And I said to him, listen, by the way, I've been independent since I was 16, so I've never had to have conversations with parents about what to do. So it made me insensitive in the beginning when I came here. So I tell kids, no, tell your parents you don't want to do that. But my perception is different now. I said to him, do you realize that 5 years have passed while you've said nothing? 5 years of your life are going and you haven't said anything. They don't know that this is not what you want to do. And I've met them. They'd understand. He didn't tell them. A lot of friction developed between him and the family. Eventually, he left home. He doesn't live with them anymore. He even got married in secret, Anel, in Bali, just because he didn't want to be a doctor. Can you imagine? Just because of what your family wanted, his life was turned upside down. And his mother, the only child she's ever had, they don't talk to each other anymore. So I'm saying to parents and young people, you got to have this conversation because we affect each other's lives. We affect each other's decisions. And sometimes it's difficult because I was in the Philippines for 4.5 years. I tell my Filipino friends, hey man, you're 15, 16. If your family wants you to be a nurse, go do it. By the time you're done, you're what, 21, 22? Then do something else after. Anyway, I know my audience. I love this Dalai Lama quote. I remember when I shared it in Malaysia, one of the students who is a Buddhist resonated with it. And it says, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. If you cannot be the greatest speaker, the greatest YouTuber or influencer or lawyer, the least you can do to live an activated life is not hurt people. It's the least. That's like the basement level of showing up for other people. I know I talk fast. Final statement. Potential and purpose are unveiled along the journey, not the destination. Pay attention to the moments of life. I know young people who have graduated from law in the US, from Princeton, from universities in California. They arrived at their destination, but they're not happy. I know people who didn't even graduate high school, but right now, they're very happy with what they do. I have a friend back home, wasn't the smartest kid, but right now he's an amazing salesperson. Doesn't have a master's, but he's so good at selling, his life is great. Because for him, it was the journey, not the destination. We gotta be careful with this. And I say this to us in Asia and Africa. We gotta be careful with always wanting to arrive at a place. Okay, I'm a doctor now. Okay, I'm married now. Okay, I got kids now. There's always another mountain to conquer. The goal is to figure out, how can I live in the moments? Because an activated life is not about a career. It's not about being married. I know single people here who are very depressed because the family keeps asking, when the wedding, when the wedding, when the wedding? You get married, when the kids, when the kids, when the kids? You get a child, when the next child, when the next child? People are not happy. Your goal is to figure out, how do I live in the moments doing my best? So my best right now, I'm sorry, I talk a lot about myself. I use a lot of sunscreen. My job in the morning is to remember to use sunscreen. That's it. After that, I forget about this condition and I do what I gotta do every single day. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've been inspired just a little bit to live what is called an activated life, because it all depends on you, not somebody else. Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, who's inspired?
Oh yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, it's time for Q&A. Anyone has a question? You may raise your hand.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
I don't have all the answers.
I think I have questions.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
How to deal with people around you, not family member, but quite close, which is colleague in office,
Yeah.
who is delusional, who is not living a reality.
Yeah.
In this case, is we live in my work. We always fall in love with a man who actually never loved her back.
Oof.
7 years with this guy, and then the next one is another guy.
Yeah.
And it happened. The next one is a medical officer who lived as a section head.
Yeah.
He continued talking to me. He loved me. He liked me. But actually, that guy didn't really like her at all. So he's really delusional. What should I do? I mean, is there anything that I can do, or just listen to her? His her craziness.
I like that.
Hold on. I think I need to translate this. So, jadi pertanyaannya gimana cara menghadapi orang yang halusinasi, delusional, kayak apa ya, suka ngawang-ngawang gitu, ngayal. Sorry, nggak masuk di kamera. Jadi gimana caranya menghadapi orang yang suka menghayal, karena si kakak ini menghadapi orang yang suka cerita ke dia, oh si ini suka banget nih sama gue, tapi padahal enggak gitu. Gimana? Apakah harus didengarkan terus atau gimana nih? Ayo kita dengarkan.
Wait, are you saying that I needed you during my presentation?
No.
I feel bad now.
No. Because Kak Sunita has been translating for them.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I was like, I needed you. Okay. First of all, I've discovered in counseling, because I'm an introvert, but I'm an extrovert by function, right? It's like being an extrovert is a job for me. So my personality would never go to somebody and try to tell them what to do. But if this person is coming to you and sharing this with you, it's either a cry for help or they are truly delusional about what they're going through. Because if this is a grown woman,
44 years old.
therein lies the answer. It's obvious she's at that place where she wants to settle down. She wants to be at a place where she's happy like other people are. Unfortunately, sometimes we project what we need onto someone else who may not be interested. It happens all the time in relationships. Sadly, I see it in marriages too, where you want the other person to make you happy without realizing that they may not be getting what they want out of it. And let's be honest, sometimes men and women kind of take advantage of that. And if you ask me what you should do, if she's coming to you, is she a friend or just a colleague?
Colleague and friends. I mean, we are quite close actually.
Okay, so then I think you have a right to share with her your opinion, because she's sharing with you what's going on. Obviously, you share it in love that it's been 7 years and this person, if you're engaged for 7 years, it's different, right? That's different. But if you're not even in a relationship at all, she needs to move on. She needs to move on. I don't know, maybe that's foreign of me, but just being direct is the way to go, But obviously, she needs to understand that whatever she is going through is, she feels that the clock is running out, she wants to settle down, but the person she's doing it with that's my opinion. I'm not an expert at that. Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jadi sedikit mengelaborate apa yang disampaikan. Jadi katanya kalau memang itu teman, kita bisa share opini kita. Karena sebagai teman kan kita juga harus mengarahkan kalau memang mereka benar-benar udah delusional. Jadi itulah, that's what friends are for.
Yep.
Kita share ke mereka apa opini kita tanpa harus menjatuhkan mereka gitu. Dan ini adalah sesi brainstorming juga, teman-teman. Kalau ada yang mau nge-share opini kalian, mungkin pernah pengalaman, maybe some of them have
ideas. That would be good.
Ideas or experience at work somewhere. Please raise your hand. we love to hear from you too. Okay, maybe next question. Ada pertanyaan selanjutnya dari online? Oke.
Tapi bahasa Indonesia boleh nggak?
Ya,
Bisa,
oke.
bisa.
Bisa.
10 years.
Mantap.
10 years back.
Jadi kan tadi sudah di-explain sedikit ya mengenai cara supaya punya hidup yang aktif gitu ya, secara mental gitu. Nah kadang-kadang dalam perjalanan kehidupan kita ini kadang-kadang kita lupa sih, atau bukan lupa, kehilangan arah untuk cari goalnya apa gitu. Contohnya nih, kalau case-nya seperti saya kan ibu rumah tangga gitu ya. Kalau sudah ibu rumah tangga, kadang-kadang purpose-nya itu hilang gitu. Apakah saya hanya full fokus untuk anak gitu? Apakah saya harus mencari aktualisasi diri sebagai seorang perempuan ya, bukan sebagai istri dan sebagai ibu gitu ya, tapi sebagai seorang perempuan, atau saya jadi lose goal gitu. Jadi kira-kira gimana sih cara untuk tahu goal yang sesungguhnya untuk seseorang gitu?
Okay, did you get it?
Let me try. I heard the word go. I think what she said, you're going to have to help me definitely.
Right.
I think she said, how do you determine what goals to have, or how do you stick to them? Something like that.
Yeah.
Now say the rest that she said.
Because she is a mom, and
Okay.
sometimes she's losing the purpose of her life. So does she have to stick with it, or is it just her trying to find a self-actualization? So yeah.
That's so good. That's so good, because what you just said is what a lot of people struggle with. Because on one side, the internet says you can be anything, right? It says you can do it all. You can be a mom, an entrepreneur, a great wife. You can run for president, right? That's what they sell us every day. But remember what I said about reality. There's the ideal of the person we want to be, but we should always remember that we live in the real world. And the real world is that beautiful girl sitting on your lap is your 24/7 assignment. That you trying to balance it out requires a lot of effort on your part. Now, is it impossible? No, it's very possible to fulfill your goals and be a parent at the same time. The only question is, what is your deadline? When do you want to do this? Sometimes we set unrealistic timelines for ourselves. I want to get this done by the end of the year. It may not be realistic, and sometimes the goal is not the problem, but the timeline is the problem. Let's talk about the goal itself. I'm now 42 years old, and if I decided, I play basketball. If I decided I want to play for the NBA, right? Because I'm a black man, I'm tall enough, right? No, it's impossible for me right now. That is an unrealistic goal, right? But if I decided that I want to start running a marathon, at least half marathon, that's possible. Now the question is, am I willing to put in the time every day to train? Am I willing to join a group? Pastor Henry's in marathons, right? Am I willing to be a part of a team that trains to do that? The only question is, am I willing to do it? Right? You know your daughter's schedule. How old is she now?
Almost 5.
Almost 5. She's in school.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm guessing that there's that time period, right? To get things done. When she's in school, you can figure out what is the goal, does it require a certain amount of money, when can I get it accomplished? And you start chipping away at it. And the final thought is this. What I've found, I wrote a book in 2019. The first mistake I made was telling myself, I want to get this book done in 2 months. I was very depressed because in 2 months, I only had 15,000 words. My goal was 40,000. When you write 40,000, the editor will slash at least 15,000 of those words, then you got to add some more. But I realized if I put time from 10 a.m. in the morning until 12, write 10 pages, right? I did that. I was done in 3 months. The editing took some time. A lot of my friends were part of my reading group, and eventually when I pressed the button on Amazon to publish it, the satisfaction was so good. That took me 9 months. So again, I'm going to say, sometimes we think we don't have time, but the truth is we do. It's just a matter of focusing for that moment, and then maybe we need to talk about what is the goal that what is it you're trying to do, and figure it out. If you block off time, I've found that works a lot of the time.
Thank you. Okay. Translate nih. Jadi katanya kita tetap bisa menjadi ibu dan punya tujuan hidup. Kita tetap bisa stick ke tujuan kita. Gimana caranya? Bikin tujuan yang realistis, nggak jangan muluk-muluk, nggak mungkin lagi nih Kak Catherine tiba-tiba mau jadi pemain basket katanya. Nah, kalau masih tujuannya juga masih realistis, itu bisa dikejar, hanya saja kita sesuaikan timelinenya. Jadi sesuaikan dengan kecepatan kita, nggak perlu kita, ya kapasitas kita tahu, jadi boleh disesuaikan. Am I right? Okay.
I agree.
Oke, pertanyaan selanjutnya. Oke.
Gimana caranya kita deal sama kegagalan? Kita merasa ini goal kita mau ke sana gitu. Kita rasa itu ada tujuan yang benar gitu. Tapi sambil perjalanannya gagal. Gitu.
Okay.
Kita coba set lagi, ternyata gagal lagi gitu. Apakah memang ternyata kita salah di purpose kah, salah di goal kah, atau salah di determinasi, atau salah di productivity, atau gimana gitu?
All of it. Every single thing you just said. All of it is, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I heard what you said. Like, which one? Which one am I supposed to focus on? Is it determination? Is it productivity? Honestly, it's all of it. That's why the formula looks the way it looks. There's the 10-year goal, right? Then you ask yourself, okay, I want to do a PhD in microphysics. That's going to take me 15 years. Over the next 15 years, what do I need? You calculate how much money it's going to cost you. You calculate how much time you need to put in, especially when you get to the thesis part. You need to know how much time do I need to put in, right? Your life changes based on your goals. Like when I decided to write books, there was no time for Netflix anymore because it's either I'm writing or I'm researching. You understand what I mean? So your life gets disrupted. Somebody said, if I want to know about you, I will ask to see your calendar. And most people, if you look at their calendar, all you see are the Indonesian holidays and people's birthdays. That's it. There's nothing scheduled on the calendar because we think we can remember stuff, right? But have you noticed that things you don't write down, you don't do them? That's what I've noticed about myself. If I don't write it down, it doesn't get done. But I started journaling, and again, writing is not really a thing we do where I come from. You don't write feelings and thoughts. But I noticed that when I started doing it, my thinking changed, because when I read back to what Monday was like, I'm like, wow, that was a bad day. I can reflect on that now. So I'd say, again, everything you just said. But please, do not put pressure on yourself to achieve things in a short period of time. Just take your time with it. We're not going anywhere. Okay.
So another question: how to do it? How to deal with failure? If like we had put everything on it, but we keep failing.
I can only use my experience because everybody handles failure differently. If there's anything my dad taught me, is that you should create as many opportunities as possible to fail. I am not a public speaker by nature. My good friend Tendai is a prolific speaker. Speaking comes naturally for you. As you can hear, words come out so fast out of my mouth. Speaking is not my natural persona. Okay, I'm a one-on-one person, right? But because I believe that there's a message that people need to get, I'm trying to do for others what I wanted somebody to do for me. You understand what I mean? So that meant, Louisa, I had to fail often. Okay? I had to fail often. And the more you fail, the better. When I came to this country, being given an opportunity to speak every week gave me the opportunity to fail often, right? We should not be afraid of failure. Just choose the things you fail in. That's the trick. Choose what you fail in, right? One of my favorite acts, like him, despite the fact that he slapped somebody, he said, fail fast and fail often.
Okay.
We avoid failing, that's why we don't succeed. I just told you I wrote a book. I'm not an author. I am not an author at all. But because I tried it, I remember when I was reading the notes from the editor, I felt so depressed because everything I wrote was garbage to her. But kept doing it, and kept doing it, and kept doing it. And when you read the reviews, you can tell that people don't understand that this is a product of failure. So I'm going to say it again. It's not in our nature as Asian people and African people to admit failure. But you gotta fail as often as you can. But choose what you fail. But all of it. Determination, productivity, do all of it.
Okay, Kanita, silakan. All right, you're good.
And it doesn't have to be a question, it can be a comment also.
Yeah, sure.
Because I want to learn as well.
Oke,
I wanna learn
mungkin
as well.
ada sanggahan nih, sanggahan. Ada yang nggak setuju. Ada tambahan. Oke, go ahead.
Finally.
No, I just want to appreciate. Yeah, it's been a long time I didn't see you.
Been a while, man.
I want to address you or title, but yeah, maybe not. So, but then I just want to appreciate for coming here. When my wife told me that she's coming, and like, okay, you know what, I didn't see you.
It's been a minute, man.
And like, I didn't know what I'm gonna hear today, but you know, it's very relatable to my current situation right now, and just like you, I've started a new, you know, phase of my life.
Love it.
Like you.
Love it.
And
Amazing.
I was reflecting on a plan that I'm, you know, bringing my family a journey that
Yeah.
will be moving on, and you know, it's very like just like you're talking to me, and you know, I'm starting to live an activated life, and so in everything, like it's very on point to what I want to, you know, what I want to have for my family and for me. And so this is very like, you know, a message that
Appreciate that.
very for me. So yeah, I just want to appreciate, and also, yeah, it's like, you know, a new thing that you have brought to me personally. Like, you know, maybe I have to start to write books just like what you're doing.
You got it, man. Everybody should have a YouTube channel. Everybody should write a book. That's the life goal right there. Yeah.
Thank you, Arnel. All right, any question? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, we didn't get your name.
Hello everyone, my name is Hans. Thank you for the opportunity.
Pleased to meet
Okay,
you.
welcome, Hans.
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes, sir.
could you please share to us your turning point from your previous career into life coach, probably using the why, how, and what, or feel free to use other.
I like that. I like that.
Awesome.
Actually, in the trainings I do what you just said, where I'll get a student to come up to the front, look at the why, the what, the how, and the who, and figure out is who I want to be fit that. So let me do that for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and share. When I turned 18, I became a Christian. And so I wanted to help people, but I didn't necessarily want to be a pastor. You understand? I wanted to help people. In the year 2000, I didn't know what a life coach was. Those words were not in my mind. In fact, I don't identify as that at all, but I get why it's necessary to identify as that. So for me, I just wanted to do for other people what wasn't done for me. Like I said, I've been independent since the age of 16, which meant nobody spoke to me about relationships. I've had to stumble and fail often on my journey with relationships. When it came to family life, my family and I will talk to each other. In fact, my family and I saw each other 15 years later during my wedding. They came here for my wedding. That was the first time we met in 15 years. So family is hard for me. Relationships were hard for me. And when it came to career, I wanted to be a doctor. That was my desire to be a doctor. But I discovered I don't like blood. So that was off the table. So psychology was the next step. So helping people figuring it out. Now the problem was, how do I do it? At that time, social media wasn't a thing. There was no Facebook. It was a Friendster, right? And High Five. Nobody was using that for coaching or any of that. So we didn't have those vehicles. So I chose becoming a pastor. But it was a struggle for me because as these guys know, I don't dress the way a pastor should. So there was a problem, especially here, because people couldn't identify. And also, I love to talk about life. I like transition. High school, university, right? University career, single to married. That's the space I love to help young people with. So thank God for technology and social media. Now we have a way to do it much better, right? You sell yourself online and then you speak at events and stuff like that. And it's very slow, bro. I'm telling you, it's not easy. Nobody knows you. It's not like you're some celebrity with an acting career that became a life coach. You are nobody. But you start one person at a time. I get that this generation wants things quickly, but in reality, it starts off where you are, and you do it one person at a time. You connect with people. That's what I did. Eventually, I've changed from the pastoral role to just working with people outside in general. And it's still an adjustment. It's still an adjustment, but so fulfilling. I truly say I love what I do. I think you can tell. I love what I do. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question. In fact, I think you should ask this young lady the question. She's on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. I'd love to know what inspired you to go in that direction.
I'm actually, I mean, your story and my story really relate because I'm also in the life mental health mindset
Beautiful.
space.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very into it.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because back when I was young, I have been depressed for years. Like I went through abuse, I went through depression, I went through bullying.
Wow.
Yeah, and that, I think being able to, because I've went through it before and I know how it feels like.
Yeah.
So now, on the other side of it, after I went through healing and self-care and, you know, awakening, spiritual awakening and all that, that's, now I'm on the other side of like, I want to help others who went through the same thing as me. I want to help them go through to not have to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
So that was the why. That was, like you said earlier, your pain point is usually your purpose, right?
Yes.
So what I went through in our childhood was my biggest pain.
Right. And so now you help other people with it. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Love it. That's
Thank
good.
you for sharing. Oke, ada lagi teman-teman, kakak-kakak yang mau share?
Maybe questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a single mom with one son. I just want to see from the perspective of a man, of a son.
Yep.
In this case, you.
Yep.
What can I do to be emotionally close to my son? I mean, how can I encourage my son to be open up to me? Because I know he will sooner or later go through difficult phase in his life, like relationship, marriage. He didn't experience a happy, ideal family life, ideal parent relationship to children. So how to encourage a young man, a son, to be close to the mother?
How old is he?
23.
Ooh. Actually, I find it easier for the conversation to take place between, especially my sisters are single mothers, so I sort of identify because I watch them raise their kids by themselves. And with the girls, it was easier, but I noticed they struggled with the boys a lot because, and correct me if I'm wrong, the pressure of playing both mom and dad is real. You're not just his mom, you're also playing that role, even if his dad is around, but you get to put on both hats. And sometimes you want to tap into the emotional side, but he's like not comfortable with that, right? But what I found is that, here's what my New Zealand friend said, the stages of parenting. And I hope this makes sense to you because he's a dad, so perspective might be different. He said to me, as a father or as a parent, you have three stages to deal with. When they're younger, 0 to 5, you're a cop, right? Police officer, you're a cop. When they turn 5 to 16, you become a coach, right? When they hit 16 and adulthood, now you're just a counselor. So if I'm to go by that, the only role you can play now is counselor. You can't police him anymore. Well, I think you should, but you cannot police him anymore because you'll say, Mom, I'm a grown man now. I can make my own decisions. But I'm sure he lives with you.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got some power there. You got some power there, right? The counselor stage is basically making yourself available. And it might mean, again, I'm a man, I cannot, there's other mothers in here, please add your voice to this conversation. I find that a mother who listens more to the son gets more results. A father can talk to a son, but a mother should listen. Because he's going to marry a woman one day. I'm assuming he's going to marry a woman one day. So if he knows how to relate with you, he'll know how to relate with somebody else. So if you're constantly talking down to him, he's going to be resistant to relationships, because the moment the woman expresses her mind, he's going to see mom and he's going to push away. So if he understands that, okay, are you sure, mom, that you're ready to hear what I have to say? You have to be prepared to listen and not comment. And that can be tough, because the kids are crazy these days. Anyway, that's me. That's my perspective as a father of a 4-year-old. I don't know if anybody else has an idea. Yeah.
I can give a perspective of your younger son.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who is similar age as him.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the parents can be very oppressing, like where you keep, I don't know, maybe Asian parents are more like that, where they're maybe a tiger mom or something. And
What mom?
Tiger mom.
Tiger mom, that's new. I've never heard that one.
Like where they push.
Yeah.
Like you're like if they don't listen, then they will, like it's very pushing, like a lot of moms are pushing to their children.
Yeah.
They think that it's for the children's good, which I understand, But sometimes, like what you were saying, right? The father, the parents, and the child didn't even talk because the son thinks that the parents doesn't understand what he wants. So because the child thinks like, you're just gonna force your opinion on me, right? You don't listen to what I want, right? You don't try to understand what the children want, So that caused the rift, the fight between the parents and the children, because the children think that you don't understand me, So that's why. If you change your perspective, whereby I'm here to support you, I will listen to you, I'll understand you, then he will open up more.
Unfortunately, that's the challenge that you have as a parent in this generation. When I was 23, if my mom said jumped, I jumped. I come from a different generation altogether. So I understand what she's saying, because that's how the kids are thinking today. They seem to have more authority than they should. So for me, the simple thought is that, I didn't say this earlier on, responsibility. He's got to learn to be responsible. And you can only do that by, first of all, listening and then putting it on him to say, listen, I know this is what you want to do. This is what you want to become. But do you understand the responsibility that it comes with? Because the challenge with, especially with Gen Z today, is their exposure to information is greater than ours at that age. So they know more than we did. My son knows, he introduced me to microplanets. Do you know that there's other planets in our solar system that are not on the list? I didn't know that. My son knows them by name, okay? So already he thinks he's better than me, right? So I have the challenge of showing him that information and life are different. And so connecting the gap between what she said and reality is now your burden as a mom. Yeah, because you can listen to him, it doesn't mean you have to accept everything he says. Okay, I don't know. Again, dad, not mom, but dad. Yeah.
And avoid to say, told you so.
My favorite expression in the house. Told you
I
so.
was like, told you. So, thank you. Okay, gimana Kak? Ada sanggahan? Aku soalnya nih dari mama ke mama juga. Mama juga. Oke, ada lagi mungkin dari mama-mama di belakang? Okay. Maybe one more from me. Well, okay. I'm a working mother.
Wow, parenting questions, okay.
I'm a working mother, and then, my husband is a social worker away.
Wow.
He works far, far away from here. And then, so for me, sometimes, and in my family, I'm the oldest. So my parents are kind of expecting me to nurture my brothers.
Yep.
And sometimes for me, it's just fake it till you make it. So, my question is, how do I keep my sanity?
You don't. Again, I'm a last born, cannot relate. I'm a last born, so I cannot relate with that. But what I find, especially for older kids, in my family, the responsible one is not the boys. It's the reason I wanted a girl and not a boy as a child, because my older sisters, even though they were younger than my late older brother, they were more responsible. When it came to work, when it came to money, taking care of their kids, way more responsible than the boys. Okay, the Thomas boys, not responsible. You ask my wife right now, she'll tell you all the stuff he says, that's not who he is. It's not who he is. But I noticed something about the older child is they're responsible for their life. And so by being an example to the younger ones, it's better because you can talk to them and tell them what to do. They get offended by that, I can imagine, right? Try telling your brother about girls. He doesn't want to hear that, right? So the only thing you can do, again, I said temporary selfishness, be responsible for your life and hope they see the example. Now and again, have the conversation, especially when they come to you. Because you can only do so much as a young mother as well. Like you said, your husband is away most of the time. You got to take care of your daughter and figure out how to show up for her. By doing that, your siblings can then see an example if they're mature enough. Responsibility.
All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So set a good example. Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead. Maybe Sister Nanette. Yes.
So good to see you too. Where's the little guy? Where is he? Where's the son? Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
My question is, this is not only for us parents,
Yeah.
as an individual.
Right.
How mindfulness and awareness contributes to living an active daily life.
Yeah.
Based from your experience.
I'm comfortable sharing my experience, and that's a good question because self-awareness is so key. Like I said, I had to make a pivot during the pandemic. Before the pandemic started, Louisa, I had been married for 4 years. And I can tell you that in those 4 years, my wife and I hardly saw each other. For us as a couple, the pandemic was so important because it was like meeting each other for the first time. She'd leave in the morning. When she gets home, I'm leaving for appointments in the evening because people are free in the evening. So we hardly saw each other. By the time our son was born, that just turned our world upside down even more. So when you talk about awareness, for that 4 years, I thought I was a great husband. Because I talked to people and helped them, I thought that made me a great husband. But guess what? She didn't know who I was. I was a stranger to her because I'm showing up for other people. And you know what it's like being married? You're nicer to other people, but not your partner.
Right.
Have you ever had an argument? Have you ever had an argument with your spouse and you're like, I know I'm supposed to say I'm sorry. You're about to say you're sorry, but you turn around and say, well, you always do, and the argument goes on. That is a sign of a lack of self-awareness. This year, when the year started, every year I have a resolution based on character. I stopped doing the weight thing. That don't work for me. Gym stuff doesn't work for me, okay? So this year, my goal was to be present. So when my wife talks, as you can tell, I like talking, right? So the moment she will start talking, I start talking over her voice. And you can imagine she is this little Chinese girl, and I'm just all the time. But now, I listen. I won't say anything. It's very painful for me, though. I'll be honest. But listening has made me understand that half the time when she's talking to me, it's not about me. It's about her. She sounds like she's complaining, but she's not. Something's wrong. But I'll be honest with you, it's still not easy. I'm not going to stand up here and say I'm husband of the year. No, no, no. All I'm saying is you are very correct. That self-awareness and mindfulness is, I think it's needed more for men than for women. But we don't talk about that, do we? All right, let me stop there before I lose the men. Go ahead.
Okay. Esther.
I want to ask how to overcome bad habits or maybe procrastination. Because sometimes we want to achieve this goal.
Yeah.
But okay, later.
Yeah.
And then, okay, it's already time's up.
Yeah.
And then how to overcome it.
There's a word that people love to use carelessly, and I hear this everywhere I go, and the word is passion. Everybody talks about passion. They talk about, oh, I don't want to do it because I'm not passionate. Passion is not something you chase after. Passion is, you know, the original word for passion in the Greek? It means sacrifice. That's what the word means. But people think passion is a feeling. No, passion is sacrifice. So the moment you said bad habits and procrastination, you got to first of all change the way. There's something I teach about positive procrastination and positive quitting. Procrastination is not a bad thing. It's bad when it prevents you from getting things done. It's good when it gives you time to think about the things you're going to get done. Because it's been proven in the work environment, people who are too quick to get things done don't do them as good as people who procrastinate. That's just a sociological fact. But procrastination is when you replace one activity with another. Let's say you got an assignment to do, and all of a sudden you get a notification on Instagram. So you choose the notification over the assignment. You know why? Because that's easier. It's fun, the dopamine high is there, but the assignment requires focus and sacrifice. So I'm going to say to you, there's no easy formula. Sacrifice. How much sacrifice are you willing to get it done? But at the same time, visualize the end goal. What is it you want to do? It was a good feeling, my sister, when I held my book in my hand, but the process was painful. Visualize the result. That's a simple way I do it. Yeah. Sacrifice.
All right, thank you. Okay, Kanita.
Ini adalah salah satu bahasa Indonesia yang kamu saya.
Isa.
Bisa.
That's the only word I know. Go ahead.
Tipikalnya di lingkungan Indonesia.
Yeah.
Tadi kita bicara living an activated life. Bagaimana kalau kita sudah punya goalnya, kita sudah punya purpose-nya, kita sudah tahu how-nya, gitu ya. Tapi the problem adalah kita nggak punya support system-nya. Our family nggak percaya gitu bahwa this is the real goal that we are going to pursue gitu ya. And then kita nggak punya orang-orang yang mau menolong kita dan believe in what we are is doing now. Gitu. Should we give up or should we wait for them untuk mereka support kita dulu or we just go?
Yeah. I think it depends on the goal. One of the toughest conversations, and I'm sure you've had to have that conversation with your wife as well. My decision to step down from a job that was stable. I had health insurance, I had a car, I had housing, I had all the stuff that anybody would need to have a family. My choice to step away from that took away all that. That was a conversation I needed to have with my wife. I couldn't just tell her, oh, baby, I'm following my passion. There's nothing you can do about it. That's not fair, right? Is my goal going to affect the family? And is my family prepared for the sacrifice? That's a conversation. But if it's a goal that doesn't necessarily affect the family, like I remember there's a time I tried to eat healthy. When I came to Indonesia, I was 67 kgs.
Oh.
Yes, right now I am 94. That's Indonesian food for you. So in order to reach my goal, I needed my wife to join me. Okay, because she's the one that prepares the food at home. She's very traditional. She loves to cook, so she had to make sure that the food was healthy, right? That's a diet goal. But if your goal affects the family financially, if you decide you want to go study, right? What about the kids? How does that affect the family's finances? Those are conversations that require support. You don't necessarily give up on them, but you can pivot. Example, you wanted to go do law, or you want to do some marketing course at a university, do an online course that costs less money. Volunteer at a place that does the work. There's always a way to do it that doesn't require that feeling of quitting. Because that's what we want to get rid of, right? Oh, I didn't. The greatest regrets in life are not the things we did, are the things we didn't do. You don't want to look back and be like, I blame my husband because I didn't become this. I blame my kids because I didn't become this. We live in a generation where anything is possible now. You can do it all now, in a sense, right? Online, meet different groups, join people. There's meetups in Jakarta. I've joined meetups that do different things. You can be anything you want to be as long as it's reasonable. By the way, I don't like the word goal. I'm not a big fan of the word goals, by the way. Goals have expiration dates. You know what I mean? Goals give this idea of when I get there, I'm everything. But if you notice, every time you reach the goal, there's always another one, right? If you have a financial goal, I want to save up ₹1 billion. When you get there, it's like, that's not enough. Let me go to the next one. I understand why people do that, but the why comes back again. What is it that you want to do, if you don't mind me asking? What is the goal? Example. Give me an example of a goal, if you don't mind sharing. Yeah.
Taking my PhD.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. Again, sorry to ask. You have
We
kids?
are our support system.
Yeah. You have kids? You have kids. Okay. Younger, older, teenagers, toddlers?
Teenagers.
7 and 12. My advice to you is the same as the one I gave the lady at the back. It's about blocking of time, but with a PhD, that's your. Are you prepared for your life to change around? That's you adjusting your life entirely. Is your partner ready for that? Are your finances ready for that? There's a thought that says, count the cost. When you count the cost and you figure that I have the capacity, I have the sacrificial mindset to get it done, why not try? Just try. If it doesn't work out, the beauty of a PhD, you can do it forever, right?
Right.
Just try. Get started. You never know. Listen to me talking about PhDs. Yeah.
Were you based in which country were you based?
I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I moved to Botswana at 21. I moved to South Africa. I moved to the Philippines, and now I'm here.
And how long?
I've been here for 10 years. This year's 10 years. Yeah, it's too long? No, not too long. Okay.
Alrighty. So I think it's time for us to end this discussion.
Aw.
So once again, a big round of applause for our speaker. Okay. I'm sorry. I kind of forgot how do we close this session. Oh, okay. So please pray for us and support us. If you want to support us financially, because this is a non-profit organization, you can help us through this QR code. And also, please pray for us. Thank you. And maybe let's get around, take a picture with our speaker here. Oh, and this is our social media. Okay, maybe Kak Catherine, would you like to help us with?
Oh iya, sorry.
Ini ada tripod.
Sir, good to see you.
Okay.
It's good to see you.
Boleh kali?
Yeah, so much.
Nggak usah lah, kita line up aja.
Yes, I do. Sure. Oh. I'm always
Oke, buat
Kuningan, close to
gue kayak
Kopas.
ini
Yeah.
nggak live. Oke, buat semua
Oh, you're in the area. So
peserta
that's very
online
close.
kita,
That's very
thank
close.
you. Sampai
Okay.
jumpa lagi
That's very good.
1 bulan ke depan.
Ready?
Stay put di
Cindy.
sosial media kita.
Cindy.
CIND1.
Okay.